The Rilithar drifted quietly through the void, a massive transport vessel carrying hundreds of passengers and crew toward the core worlds. Life on board was calm, almost boring. The ship's metal corridors echoed with the same quiet hum every day, and the passengers trusted that their journey would remain uneventful. That calm ended the moment the distress call came through. A piercing alarm rang through the ship, and red lights flashed along the corridors. Captain Thaler, a pale-skinned alien with 4 narrow eyes, appeared on every holoscreen. His voice was sharp and urgent. "All hands, this is the captain. We have received a priority alert from the sector patrol. A dangerous creature has escaped from a prisoner transport. There is reason to believe it may have boarded our ship. I repeat, there may be a Deathworlder on board." The words hit the passengers like a shockwave. Deathworlders were legendary, creatures from planets so hostile that only the strongest and smartest could survive. They were stronger, faster, and more cunning than any normal being. The stories told of them tearing through squads of soldiers, shrugging off weapons fire and vanishing into the dark before anyone could catch them. In the dining hall, passengers gasped and whispered nervously. Some clutched their children close. Others looked around as if expecting the monster to leap out from the shadows at any moment. In the center of the hall stood Security Chief Jaren Vok. He was tall, broad-shouldered and calm, his blue uniform crisp and perfect. While others panicked, he remained still, his face unreadable. "Stay calm," Jaren said, his voice carrying through the room. "Panic will only make things worse. My team will search every deck. We will find this creature before it harms anyone." The passengers quieted, comforted by his confidence. Jaren had always been reliable, the kind of officer who never raised his voice, never lost control. If anyone could keep them safe, it was him. Within minutes, Jaren was in the command center giving orders. He instructed his security teams to seal off the outer decks and begin scanning every section. Surveillance drones were deployed and every maintenance hatch was placed under watch. "Remember," Jaren told his team, "Deathworlders are clever. They know how to hide. Check every crawlspace, every storage bay. If you see anything suspicious, report it. Do not engage alone." The team saluted and left, their boots clanging on the metal floor. Jaren watched them go, his expression calm. Only when the room was empty did his mouth curve into the faintest smile. He knew exactly where the Deathworlder was, because he was the Deathworlder. As he walked the corridors, Jaren kept his breathing slow and even. No one suspected him. Why would they? He was the one leading the search. The scanners would never find anything. They were tuned to look for a wild animal, not for someone wearing a clean uniform and carrying a security badge. He passed groups of nervous passengers, offering them polite nods and reassuring words. "You'll be safe. We have the situation under control." He said it so naturally that they believed him. Deep inside, though, Jaren was alert, every sense awake. His ears caught the faintest hiss of a vent several corridors away. His nose picked up the sharp tang of coolant from a nearby pipe. The ship was full of sounds and smells that most people never noticed, but to him they were clear as day. At the end of the shift, he returned to the security office, where 2 junior officers were monitoring the scanners. "Report," Jaren said. "No confirmed sightings, Chief," one of them replied. "But we did pick up some strange heat readings near Cargo Bay 3. Could be a malfunction. Or it could be the intruder," Jaren said seriously. "Seal the area and double the patrols there." "I'll check it personally." The officers nodded, impressed by his dedication. Jaren grabbed a scanner and headed toward the cargo bay. When he reached the dark, quiet storage area, he shut the door behind him. His calm mask slipped for a moment, replaced by something colder. He crouched near a stack of crates, examining the deck plating. There were no footprints, no claw marks, no signs of a struggle. Good, he stood satisfied. The false report would keep the crew busy for hours. In that time, he could move freely, study the ship, and prepare. The hunt had begun, but no one knew that the hunter was already in charge of the search. The Rilithar was no longer the calm ship it had been a day ago. The red alert had ended, but the fear stayed behind. The air felt heavier, the corridors quieter. Passengers now walked in groups, whispering nervously, jumping at every sound. Security Chief Jaren Vok moved through the ship with steady steps, his presence like a rock in the storm. He spoke with every team, reviewed every scanner report, and made sure no one saw the flicker of satisfaction behind his eyes. On the bridge, Captain Thaylor paced. His long fingers tapped on the console. "Chief, we have searched half the ship," he said, his voice tense. "Still no sign of the creature. If it is here, why has it not attacked?" Jaren clasped his hands behind his back. "It is hiding, Captain. Waiting for the right moment. Deathworlders are patient hunters. They don't waste energy." The captain's four eyes narrowed. "And you think it is still on board?" "I do," Jaren said firmly. "And if we keep the pressure up, it will make a mistake." The captain nodded, trusting him completely. That was good. Trust made everything easier. By the next day, the search had intensified. Security drones floated through the corridors, shining bright lights into every corner. Hatches were sealed one by one, and motion sensors were activated in every unused room. Still, no one found anything. Then the strange reports began. A technician swore he heard footsteps above him while working in the maintenance crawlspace. A steward claimed she saw a shadow dart past the dining hall cameras, but when they rewound the footage, nothing was there. Food containers were found opened in the storage bay, as if something or someone had eaten in a hurry. Each time, Jaren personally inspected the scene. He would kneel down, run his gloved fingers across the floor, and nod seriously. "Yes," he would say, "it was here. Keep searching." The crew obeyed. They trusted him more with each passing hour, but Jaren was careful. The opened food containers had been his work. The shadow on the camera had been his own movement, timed perfectly so that it looked like something alien had slipped by. He was shaping the story, giving the crew just enough evidence to keep them afraid but not enough to catch him. At night, Jaren walked the quiet halls alone. The hum of the engines was the only sound. Most of the crew were asleep, but Jaren was wide awake. His sharp eyes scanned every corridor, mapping the ship in his mind. He knew where the blind spots were now, where the cameras didn't cover, where the scanners glitched, where a person could vanish if they needed to. He marked each place silently, committing it to memory. In the cargo bay, he crouched beside a vent and adjusted the grating. If he needed to escape quickly, he could disappear into the ventilation system in seconds. He was no longer just leading the search. He was preparing for the next phase. By morning, the passengers were growing restless. Some shouted at the crew, demanding to know why the Deathworlder hadn't been found yet. Others stayed locked in their rooms, refusing to come out. The tension was spreading like fire. Captain Thaylor called a meeting of the senior staff. The room was quiet, every officer watching Jaren. "We cannot keep this up forever," the captain said. "The passengers are frightened. We are running low on energy, keeping half the ship sealed." Jaren nodded calmly. "That is exactly what the creature wants, Captain. Fear, weakness, it is watching us. We must force it out. And how do you suggest we do that?" "We make it think we are vulnerable," Jaren said. "We open a section of the ship, but secretly flood it with scanners and security drones. The creature will believe it is a safe place to hide, and then we will catch it." The officers murmured in agreement. It was a bold plan, but it made sense. Captain Thaylor leaned back in his chair, his four eyes narrowing thoughtfully. "Very well, Chief, do it." Jaren allowed himself the smallest smile. "Yes, Captain." As he left the room, Jaren felt the ship's mood shifting. The trap he had suggested was now being prepared. The drones were ready, the scanners powered up. Soon the entire crew would focus on that one open section of the ship. And while they were busy chasing shadows, Jaren would have the freedom to act without anyone watching. For now he kept his face calm, his steps measured. No one could know that the most dangerous creature on the ship was the one giving the orders. The hunt was no longer just about finding the Deathworlder. It was becoming a game, and Jaren was playing to win. The next day began with a heavy silence across the ship. The section Jaren had chosen to bait the Deathworlder was now open, but it was surrounded by scanners, security drones, and guards posted at every entrance. Passengers were told to stay clear of the area, and most obeyed. Fear kept them locked in their cabins. Jaren stood with his hands behind his back, looking over the security feeds. "Good," he said quietly. "Now we wait." The officers in the control room nodded, watching him closely. He was their center of calm, the one person who seemed unshaken by the threat. To them, Jaren looked like the perfect officer, focused, brave, and patient. Inside, Jaren was amused. They were so easy to guide, so ready to believe that the danger was somewhere else. They never imagined that the creature they feared was standing right in front of them. That night, Jaren made his move. He slipped away from the control room, claiming he was inspecting the baited section personally. No one questioned him. He was the chief. He could go anywhere. He moved through the dim corridors silently, his steps careful. When he reached a maintenance hatch, he removed his gloves and pressed his hand hard against the metal, leaving a faint smudge that looked like a claw mark. Next, he went to a nearby supply locker and tore open a food container with his bare hands. He left pieces scattered on the floor just enough to make it look like something had eaten in a hurry. Finally, he found an oxygen canister, dented it slightly with a strong squeeze, and left it near the vent as if a desperate creature had tried to open it. By the time he was done, the entire area looked like a wild animal had passed through. Jaren stepped back and admired his work. The scene was perfect, terrifying, but not too terrifying. Just enough to keep the crew on edge. The next morning, a young officer reported the discovery to the captain. "Captain, Chief, we found more signs of the intruder. Claw marks, damaged equipment." "Show me," Jaren said at once. He followed the officer to the site and crouched beside the false evidence. His expression was grave, his voice calm. "Yes, it was here. It's getting bolder." The captain's 4 eyes widened. "Then it is still on board. We must tighten security even more." "Yes," Jaren said. "Double the patrols. Seal the nearby hatches. If it tries to move again, we will catch it." The order was given, and within hours the crew had locked down 2 more sections of the ship. The passengers were now confined to smaller areas, their fear growing with every announcement. Jaren walked among them, his calm presence keeping them from panicking. Some even thanked him for protecting them. "You are doing a good job, Chief," one passenger said nervously. Jaren gave a small nod. "It is my duty. We will keep you safe." Inside, he was almost smiling. They trusted him completely. Later that day, a security team reported that a motion sensor had detected something moving near the cargo hold. The crew gathered quickly, weapons ready. "Seal the area," Jaren ordered, his voice sharp. "No one goes in until we are ready." The tension was so thick that no one noticed Jaren slip away for a moment. He climbed into a service tunnel and waited silently as the team searched below. When they found nothing, the fear grew worse. "It's toying with us," one officer said nervously. Jaren returned, his face serious. "Exactly. That means it is intelligent. We have to be smarter." He began giving new orders, telling the crew where to search and how to move. He was controlling every part of the hunt now, and no one dared to question him. By the end of the shift, Jaren had mapped out almost every weak point on the ship. He knew which cameras were slow, which scanners glitched, and which doors could be locked manually. The ship was no longer just a transport vessel. To Jaren, it was a hunting ground. That night, he sat alone in the security office, staring at the ship's layout on the screen. The crew thought they were closing in on the intruder, but in truth, the intruder was closing in on them. Jaren leaned back in his chair, his face calm but his eyes sharp. Every trap they set only made his job easier. Every locked hatch and sealed section meant he had more control. The game was moving to its next stage. The crew thought they were hunters, but soon, they would learn what it really meant to be hunted. The Rilithar had become a ship filled with unease. Every corridor felt dangerous, every shadow suspicious. Passengers avoided common areas, and even seasoned crew members jumped at noises that would have gone unnoticed before. The hunt for the Deathworlder had consumed everyone's minds. Security Chief Jaren Vok walked calmly through the hallways, inspecting the sections that had been attacked. His expression remained neutral, a mask of authority and control. Yet behind his calm exterior, every detail of the ship was stored in his memory. Every patrol route, every blind spot, every anxious glance from the crew, he knew them all. By mid-morning, Captain Thaler called an emergency meeting on the bridge. His 4 eyes scanned the senior staff, filled with worry. "We've increased patrols, sealed off every suspicious area, and deployed all drones," he said. "Still, we find nothing. I don't understand it." "This creature should be making a mistake by now." Jaren stepped forward. "Captain, the creature is intelligent. It is studying us, learning our movements. It is patient. And it is waiting for us to make a mistake." The captain frowned. "Then what do you suggest, Chief?" Jaren's voice was calm, confident. "We make it believe it has the advantage. We open one section of the ship and act as if we are weak. It will reveal itself." The officers murmured their agreement. To them, it was a clever strategy. To Jaren, it was another way to manipulate their fear. That afternoon, the open section was carefully prepared. Drones patrolled the area, sensors lined every wall, and security teams took positions at each entrance. Passengers were moved to safe zones, guided by officers who repeated Jaren's calm reassurances. "Don't worry," he said to a group of passengers. "We have it contained. You are safe." The words were soothing, almost heroic. The passengers relaxed slightly, not knowing the truth. Jaren walked past them, pretending to inspect the perimeter. His movements were deliberate, designed to be noticed just enough to maintain their trust. Yet each step he took brought him closer to his true purpose. Hours passed, and the crew's frustration grew. Every patrol returned with the same report. Nothing. Fear turned into impatience. Whispers spread. Some began questioning their own abilities, their courage. Then the first real sighting occurred. A young officer, nervous and shaking, reported that something had moved behind a cargo container. A drone had caught a fleeting shadow. Jaren arrived immediately, crouching beside the container. He inspected the area carefully, his voice full of concern. "Yes, it was here. Careful, it may still be nearby." The officers were tense. "Should we enter?" one asked. Jaren looked at them with controlled seriousness. "No, we wait. If it is intelligent, it will come to us." "We must be ready," they obeyed. They did not suspect that the creature was already inside their ranks. As night fell, the crew grew restless and exhausted. Some of them began arguing, blaming one another for the failures. Passengers whispered of abandoning ship, though the captain would not allow it. Jaren moved quietly through the chaos. He noticed every fearful glance, every nervous step. The fear and confusion worked to his advantage. He no longer needed to hide in the shadows. He could move openly, and no one would suspect him. Finally, when the tension was at its peak, he decided the moment had come. Standing on the bridge, he addressed the captain and senior officers. "Captain, I have a confession. There has been a Deathworlder on this ship, yes. But it is not hiding in the corridors. It is not behind the cargo containers. You are looking in the wrong place." The room fell silent. All eyes were on him. Jaren stepped forward slowly, his calm mask never faltering. "The creature you fee?" Is me," gasps filled the bridge. Crew members drew back, disbelief and terror on their faces. Captain Thaler blinked, uncertain if he had heard correctly. "You, what?" one officer stammered. Jaren's gaze did not waver. "I am the Deathworlder. You hunted me, not knowing that your chief of security is the one you fear most. I have been guiding the search, shaping your fear, teaching you to follow orders and preparing the ship for what comes next." The officers froze. The pieces began to fall into place. Every missed sighting, every strange mark, every false lead, it had all been orchestrated. Jaren's calm, commanding presence had been the perfect cover. No one had suspected him. A sudden sound in the corridor outside the bridge made everyone jump. Jaren's eyes flicked toward it. "Do not panic," he said softly, but the edge in his voice sent a shiver down everyone's spine. He moved toward the door with deliberate steps. The crew instinctively reached for their weapons, but they were too slow. Jaren's strength, speed, and intelligence, enhanced by his human nature, made him untouchable. The first clear moment of realization hit them all at once. The hunter they had been following was the hunter all along. Fear turned to a cold, sharp panic. The bridge felt smaller, the ship suddenly unfamiliar. The rules had changed. The hunt was no longer just a story or a drill. It was real. And Jaren had been in control from the very start. The Rilithar was no longer a safe place. Every corridor, every room, every corner held tension so thick it could almost be touched. The crew and passengers who had survived the previous days moved cautiously, their eyes darting at every shadow. They had finally understood the truth. The Deathworlder was not hiding. They had been hunting him all along. And he was human. Security Chief Jaren Vok moved silently through the hallways, his calm face hiding the power within. His human body, stronger, faster, and sharper than anyone aboard, allowed him to move in ways the crew could not anticipate. While they relied on scanners, drones, and coordinated patrols, Jaren relied on instinct, intelligence, and precision. He stopped at a junction, listening. Voices echoed in the corridors ahead. A small group of officers was trying to regroup, plotting how to trap the creature. They were unaware that the creature was already among them, observing every move, predicting every step. Jaren allowed a faint smile. The tables had turned. The crew attempted to coordinate, setting up traps and barricades, but Jaren moved too fast. He slipped past a closed door, leaving a faint trace of disturbance behind, enough to make the crew believe the intruder had passed there. They chased shadows, confused and fearful. In the cargo hold, a group of passengers huddled together, led by a junior officer trying to keep them calm. Jaren entered silently from the ventilation shaft above, crouching in the darkness. His presence went unnoticed, though the air seemed heavier somehow. He observed them for a long moment. The humans here, though frightened, still showed signs of cleverness, bravery, and determination. He admired this quietly. Then, with a controlled movement, he triggered a small alarm in another part of the ship. The crew ran toward it, leaving the passengers temporarily unattended. Jaren dropped from the shaft and moved among them, guiding them to safety without alarming them further. He was not cruel. He did not harm unless necessary. This was a hunt, not a slaughter. By the next hour, the Rilithar had become a labyrinth. The crew chased phantom signals, opened empty rooms, and argued among themselves about strategy. Every mistake they made was observed by Jaren. Every moment of panic only confirmed that humans were capable of extraordinary intelligence and adaptability. When a security officer tried to corner him in the maintenance bay, Jaren did not fight. Instead, he left a calculated distraction, a knocked-over crate, a vent panel slightly ajar. The officer ran after it, and Jaren had vanished before he realized it. The crew was becoming tired. Exhaustion slowed their thinking, and fear clouded their judgment. Jaren knew the time to end the hunt was near. Finally, he allowed himself to step onto the bridge, the control center of the ship. The captain and senior officers were there, looking drained and terrified. "Chief," Captain Thaler said, voice tight, "we cannot continue like this. If you are the intruder, what do you want? Why?" Jaren's calm voice filled the room. "To show you what humans are capable of." The officers blinked in confusion. We thought you were just guiding us," one said. "I was guiding you," Jaren replied. "Every choice you made, every step you took, it was part of a lesson. You were learning to trust, to plan, to survive under pressure. The creature you feared? That was human potential." There was silence. The truth was staggering. Humans, so often underestimated by aliens, were clever, patient, and strong. Jaren had proven it without harming anyone unnecessarily. Over the next few hours, Jaren ensured order returned to the ship. Passengers were guided safely back to their cabins. Security teams were reorganized with instructions from Jaren himself. The threat was over, not because it had been destroyed, but because it had never been what anyone expected. Captain Thaler approached him, still in awe. You are remarkable." "We never imagined." Jaren nodded slightly. "You should never underestimate what humans can do. Intelligence, patience, and courage, they are as strong as any weapon." The captain swallowed. "And the crew?" "All safe," Jaren said. "They learned more than they realized. Fear can teach as much as battle if you guide it wisely." As the ship drifted through the empty stars, Jaren sent a secure message to Earth. "Mission complete. Ship secured. Crew unharmed. Humans continue to exceed expectations. The galaxy underestimates us at its peril." He leaned back in the captain's chair, looking out at the endless expanse of space. The hunt was over. But the lesson remained clear. Intelligence, strategy, and patience were the greatest strengths of all. The humans aboard the Rilithar had survived, not just because of luck, but because of one human's extraordinary abilities, and because humanity, underestimated for so long, had proven itself capable of mastering even fear itself. For Jaren, the hunt had ended. For the galaxy, the lesson was only beginning. The Rilithar continued its journey, calm once more. But somewhere in the vastness of space, a quiet thought lingered. Humans were not to be underestimated, and those who did might one day find themselves outmatched in ways they could never imagine.